Well, hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures podcast. I'm Tom. As always, I'm here with my wonderful, intelligent, gorgeous, attraction-loving wife, Michelle.
You're so wonderful. Thank you. Hi, everybody.
So good to have you with us. We are recording this episode on Sunday, August 4th, 2019. How did we get to August?
I was just going to say the same. Similar. It's like, I can't believe it's already August.
It's so crazy that
It
the
is.
time is just absolutely flying by. Thank you for joining us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com.
Right. And we really want to ask that if you get a chance, give us a little rating, and most importantly, tell a friend.
Yes, please tell friends about us. And we have a new thing that on our website now that we're going to get started here. I haven't sent any out yet, just some real brief kind of welcome notes. But if you want to sign up for our brand new newsletter on our website, it's right there. I believe it should show up kind of as you exit the page right before you leave. If it's not showing up for you, please let us know because I want to get that corrected. But I would love to have you join because we're going to send you some more information about the podcast as well as some things we have coming up, possibly some giveaways, maybe eventually some merchandise, all sorts of stuff that we have in the works, and we'd like you to be a part of it.
Absolutely. So please sign up.
Right, absolutely. And
Absolutely.
We'd also love for you to follow us on social media. We have a great time being interactive with our listeners, being interactive with all our followers, and we'd like you to become one of them.
Absolutely. It's a great... Boy, wait a minute. I have said absolutely like a million times already. I'm so sorry.
That's because you're absolutely wonderful.
But going with what you were talking about with our social media group, yeah, it's a great Disney-loving family. We have some wonderful friends, and it's a hoot.
It's a hoot. That's a perfect word. That's absolutely a perfect word for it. It's a hoot. And if you want to follow us socially, please find us on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. And by the way, if you ever want to contact us for any reason, if you have a comment on any of our topics, if you just want to say hi, whatever the case may be, you can always email us at HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
Sure. And because I was almost going to say absolutely again.
Absolutely.
I caught myself. Yeah, we do love to hear from everybody. We do like to make this interactive also. Mm-hmm. And so if you have some comments or you have ideas, we'll definitely give you full credit for it. But, we want you involved.
Right. We do want you involved. So please get in touch with us. As for today's show, we have lots of stuff for you today, including we checked out The Empire Strikes Back in concert last night with the San Diego Symphony, Bayside Summer Nights. We're going to recap that. We'll talk about Arrival Theme Park's big announcement this week. And there's good news for those of us who like a little adult beverage when they're visiting a galaxy far, far away.
And who doesn't?
Who doesn't? But let's get to our main topic of the week. And we're so excited. We have guests with us that we've been looking to bring on the show for so long. We were guests on their show just about, it's a little less than a month ago, I think. But it's so great to finally have them with us. We're thrilled to have Keenan and Rachel from the Part of Our World podcast join us today. Guys, how you doing?
We're good. Thanks
so much for bringing us onto your show.
Oh, it's our
excited
pleasure.
to be here.
Yeah,
we're excited to have you. If you don't know the Part of Our World podcast, they have a wonderful show. They talk a lot about the parks, but they talk about movies. It's just a fun family show that we just enjoy very much, and they've been great friends to us, especially on social media, and we're just so happy to have them on. Michelle, I think you'd agree.
Oh, totally. They're super sweet and really fun. I think you already said fun, but I'm going to tag on to that as well. It's going to be another word that I use a lot in this episode, apparently. But yeah, we're so happy that you all were able to make it today.
By the way, just guys, if we happen to laugh because Michelle says absolutely, we've already gone over in this podcast that she said absolutely like 3 or 4 times at the beginning. So
Nice.
we may just crack up for no reason in the middle. We just want to let you know what's going on.
Nice.
So anyways, guys, tell our listeners a little bit about yourselves. First, how did you become such big Disney fans? And then how did you transition that into actually starting your podcast?
We have kind of different journeys of becoming Disney fans because I grew up going to the parks maybe every few years, kind of like the same plan that we're on now. We just went every 3 years or so as a family. And I'm a big theme park guy, and I just fell in love with Walt Disney World and obsessed even as a kid, going over the trips, mulling over the maps. And this is before fast passes and all that stuff, but I had pretty much mapped out our whole trip for us and knew the parks in my mind before even being there. So that just kind of naturally transitioned into adulthood when we decided to take a trip a few years ago. And it was, I don't know what made me take a break at some point, I guess college and all that stuff. But as soon as we went back, I was, the obsession was there again in full force.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And I was just always obsessed with the movies, of course, and grew up with Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King were all my very favorites. And then, but I never got to go to Disney World as a kid. We had a big family and they couldn't take all of us. So, it was always a dream of mine to go, and then finally got married and we just took our first trip, I don't know, 3 years ago. And, that was like, I was like a kid in Disney World. Right? It was like all of my dreams finally come true.
Right.
And seeing all these things that I love in real life. So, so from then on, I was totally, if I wasn't already obsessed with Disney, which I was like, an adult listening to Disney music by myself in the car already before going to Disney World. But now
and then starting a show was kind of just a combination of being obsessed and talking about it all the time and not having anyone to talk about it with.
Sure.
Except each other. So we started talking about it with each other on the show and found this amazing community online that is equally obsessed. And I just wanted to do something creative. I wanted to have some sort of content that I was working on, and a podcast seemed like a good idea. And Disney was the very clear topic that we landed on. So that's kind of how that went down.
I think
it was.
I'm sorry.
And it was a way to cure the Disney blues.
Yeah. Definitely. It's good to be able to discuss it as you're transitioning between trips to the parks for sure. And it's so sad that you guys just did this great trip to the parks. And by the way, you should listen to their episodes where they're recapping their day by day journey through all the various different parks at Walt Disney World, because it really was a great recap. But we were so sad that we missed you guys like by 2 days. It was so close when we could have connected when we were out there. But it really is a great report, and you guys should listen to it if you get a chance. All their episodes are great, but those are some of my favorites.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, we had fun reliving those in minute detail.
Yeah.
Well, we enjoyed it too.
Sorry.
I said we enjoyed it with you too.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's the thing is it was like for us, it wasn't a main episode. It was bonus episodes. But I found that people love the trip reports. I love listening to podcasts that do trip reports, but I know there's people that they listen to podcasts for park tips or for top 5 lists and things of that sort. And so we didn't want to have just an entire summer of all of our episodes being trip reports. So we kind of released them just when we did them. But it was a blast. And yeah, you guys and others have said that they've really enjoyed listening to them. So we're humbled and grateful for that.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think the thing is about the trip reports a lot of times is when you're not there, when you're not going to the parks, when you can kind of live it through somebody else, kind of feel, I love that too, or I totally understand why you weren't thrilled with that aspect of it, or I wish I had that to eat right now. And I think we all live that when we're not there, and so we enjoy the ride with you when you're explaining what you went through and the fun that you had.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, one of the things that helps the blues, too, is having a follow-up trip kind of in your mind. Do you have something in plan or are shooting for or anything like that?
It's
the funny thing is
fairly distant future.
It's 2021.
Yes.
Like around Christmas time, most likely. But I've already started crunching numbers and looking at different things. I came to her the other day and I was like, okay, I have a plan for day one of our trip, and it's like it was this elaborate multi-step crossing stuff off our bucket list. Like, this is how we're going to do our first day. And
yeah, and I'm like, you meet the one in 2 years or 3 years? Wait, 2. Yes,
like 2.5,
yes, it's far away, but
So the answer to your question is yes, we do have a future trip planned. Cool. Unfortunately, it's just not as close as we would like it.
Sure.
And working on it does help you get to, through the blues where you're there. It kind of feels like that. And that's part of the extension of the trip is preparing for the trip and being ready to enjoy it and have the best time you can have. And so I always, I tell everybody, have a countdown clock, plan it out, have fun with it, find different ways to involve your kids if you have them with you in it, because it just adds to the excitement once it finally comes.
Right.
So we're already telling our kid, like, you're going to be able to ride this next time.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's so great.
So he's excited.
I bet.
That's so great. So one of the things, unfortunately, I realized after we got off the show, on your show when we were with you, is that I meant to bring up, but totally skipped my mind, is that I think we have a mutual admiration for the musical Hamilton, and one Lin-Manuel Miranda. And so if there's somebody that loves those as much as we do, we need to talk to you a little bit about that.
We do need to talk about that.
I meant to drop Hamilton references during that show and completely spaced on it.
I heard Tom, I forget what episode I was listening to. I think it was a very special episode. You mentioned, you had a couple Hamilton, like references that you'd have to know the show to get. And I was like,
we love that show. We have worn out the soundtrack to it.
Yeah.
We've been blessed to be able to see it a couple times. I believe you got to see it not that long ago as well, correct?
Yeah, we saw it twice last year.
We've also seen it twice.
Nice.
Yeah, we got to see it out here in San Diego, and we also got to see it in Orlando. We just happened to be out there at the time when it was in Orlando, so that was on top of going to Walt Disney World all day, we get to go see Hamilton in Orlando. That was pretty cool. But
best week ever.
I know, right?
Exactly. But and speaking about Hamilton, and I don't know if you feel this way. We're going to geek out on this a little bit. I'm sorry, everybody who's doesn't know Hamilton, but I find it to be modern day Shakespeare to me. The writing in it, the word for word, the metering of it, everything. I just love that show so much. I've listened to the soundtrack numerous times, and for months I was finding new intricate things within it as we were going. And then more so when we actually finally saw it on the stage and how it all expands. I don't know what you two feel about that.
Oh, yeah.
Did I ever tell you guys that I taught Hamilton in 11th grade English class as Shakespeare?
God.
Oh, did you really as Shakespeare?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, that's kind of how we introduced the unit is it's modern as Shakespeare. Here's why. We're going to be studying the prose and the meter and the rhyme schemes and all that stuff. And so we would actually do that in place of Shakespeare for the 11th grade year.
Wow, that had to be fun for your students. That had to be really cool.
Oh, super fun. Yeah, and this next year I'm not teaching 11th grade, so I'm really bummed
that
no Hamilton.
It's back to King Lear.
You can just do Hamilton in your living room instead. I mean, we do it all the time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we've done sing along, like I don't know how to describe it, but sing throughs where us and some friends have gotten together and people get assigned a role for each song, and then you sing through it.
Yeah,
we're pretty big Hamel dorks.
Yeah.
Us too. Whenever I tell her whenever we're driving late at night and she's worried about getting sleepy, or if it's a long road trip or for whatever the case may be, I'm like, okay, I'm wearing down. Pop on Hamilton because that'll get me going. That'll get me going. I'll be citing all the lyrics as we go through.
Right.
We have a good time. So I just had to bring that up because I was sad that I didn't bring it up to begin with because I know I've heard you drop a few like references to it as well within your show, and I knew we all love Lin-Manuel. I mean,
absolutely. So glad he's now connected with Disney.
Yeah,
I know, it's great.
Oh
yeah, our
I'm
kids
so excited for
watching,
the Little Mermaid.
He's watching Mary Poppins Returns right now.
Nice. Very nice. There we go. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what he does with Little Mermaid. I'm excited about that.
Yes.
Moana was just
amazing.
Yeah,
exactly.
People are like, we don't need Disney live action remakes. I'm like, true, but Lin-Manuel Miranda is doing the Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
That's got to be good.
That's a game changer.
That's right.
Right. I believe in Lin. I trust in Lin.
Oh, yeah,
he will make sure that film is a good one. At least the music will be good. I have faith in that. So.
Right.
So let's get to it. Let's finally get to our main topic here. And we wanted to talk to you about a visit to Walt Disney World, only, well, something a little strange is going on.
traveling through another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind. A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination. That's the signpost up ahead. Your next stop, the Twilight Zone. Picture, if you will, a mysterious-looking figure in the distance. As the image approaches, you make out it is a train conductor. He greets you with a nod and hands you a note. As you gaze back to question the man, you find he has mysteriously vanished. Puzzled, you look down and read the cryptic message. A wondrous world you have entered, one with laughter and delight. But if you break this rule, your vacation will become a fright. Take a moment and choose wisely. You have no opportunity for redaction. Ride as many times as you wish, but from only 5 attractions.
So yes, we have stepped.
That was awesome.
Thank you. We have stepped into the Twilight Zone. We figured with the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror hitting 25 years old just a couple of weeks ago, and we know this subject has been done many different ways in many different shows. How can we approach it differently? Well, we've entered the Twilight Zone.
Yes. I didn't know we were going to the Twilight.
Well,
I guess
that's
never
the whole
does.
point, right?
Yes.
You don't know.
Right.
So here's what's going to happen here is we've decided we're going to look at Walt Disney World Resort, and we can only ride 5 attractions the whole entire time you're there, whatever the length of your vacation may be. But you have to ride them over and over and over again. So they have to be something that you are prepared to do that with. Also, you can just walk on. You don't have to worry about wait times, you know. So
Right.
if it's something that you normally would have a 2-hour wait, you don't have to worry so much about that. So we were interested to see, rather than just doing our normal top 5 list, we would do this in a slightly different way with a little bit of a theming involved. So we're interested to hear what you have to say. So let's get to our guests first. Rachel, what would be your number 5 list or number 5 attraction if you could only ride 5? What would be the 5th one?
Okay, so you have to consider a few things if you can only ride these 5 rides and over again. So length is going to be a factor in many of my choices.
I understand, yes.
So for that reason, I chose, and I love dark rides, and I actually had 2 I was going between, but clearly there's no redactions as expressed in the intro.
Yeah, you don't want to have your vacation become a
I know,
fright.
Right.
So I'm just going to go with Pirates of the Caribbean. So, because it's long, and I think there's a lot to see.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good dark ride, and I've only ridden it one time, so it'd be something new
Wow, very cool.
every time, I think.
Yeah, you would see a lot, especially if you haven't seen it that many times.
Yeah.
You're going to pick a lot out of it the more you get to ride it. So that totally makes sense. I love that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the smell of a good dark ride.
Yeah, that's true, especially a good water ride. Yeah, exactly. Love it. Didn't make my list, but it was close to making my list. So that's a great choice. I love that, Rachel. Keenan, how about you? What's your number 5?
Okay. I agree with Rachel that a lot has to go into considering these choices. One thing that mattered to me is I want to be able to go to all the parks. So I wanted to pick an attraction from each park because even though I couldn't ride all the rides, there might be a meal I wanted to get or just sightseeing or whatever. So I wanted to be able to park hop. So I had to choose something from each park. And my number 5 is from Hollywood Studios, and that is Star Tours.
That is my number 4, actually.
Okay. And I went with
It's
this
on my
for
list,
a
too.
couple of reasons. Because one, there was nothing. So Tower of Terror was the other choice for Hollywood Studios. But I'm like, man, I would probably get sick just riding that over and over again. So Star Tours has loads of re-rideability because you are going to get a different scene many, many times. I haven't done Smuggler's Run. I'm guessing maybe once they open that up, I would prefer that over Star Tours. But since that's not an option for me yet, that's what I went with.
That was
and Star Wars. It's amazing. So
for the exact same reasons. That's why that was my number 4. Although I had the option of changing that slightly, so I may do that when I get to my number 4. But
no redactions.
No redactions.
No redactions.
But I haven't put it technically out
you
yet.
You can change your ordering.
Right.
I suppose.
That's true.
Right.
That's true. So I love that pick, exactly for the same reasons that you put out there, Keenan. That's great. Michelle, what is your number 5?
So my number 5, and I approached it a little differently. It's interesting that we all had a different way of looking at how we would hone in on these attractions. So I looked for attractions that might have variability into them. So my number 5 would be the Monsters, Inc. laugh floor, because I felt like each time they would have, some variety in some of their jokes. I know some of them would remain the same, but they'd have some other little skits here or there, and especially since some of them are based on what, you can text in as the joke and if they use it. So that would be my number 5.
It all depends on who is in the audience, too, and how they react to it as well.
Yeah.
I think there's some people who want to criticize the Monsters, Inc. laugh floor. I think it's highly underrated, and we do it every single time. We get a kick out of it every single time we go.
Yeah, we didn't get to do it last time, but actually, Michelle, Monsters, Inc. laugh floor almost made my list for the same reason. So I was like, well, you get something new and it would remain interesting.
Yeah,
Right.
it is underrated. I agree.
Yeah.
And you get an AC.
And AC.
That's right.
Exactly.
Even in the queue.
Even when you're just waiting there before you even get in. Yes, love it. Love it so much. All right.
Yours?
My number 5, I'm going actually, I thought Keenan was leaning this way to begin with when he was first talking about his. Mine is going completely off the rails here because, actually it's going on one rail. Because I figure we need to get to and from these parks some way to get to these attractions. So I'm adding the monorail in as my number 5 because I want to be able to get from Magic Kingdom to Epcot. From Epcot, I can actually walk to the Hollywood Studios. I don't actually have anything this time at Animal Kingdom, so I'm not worried about that. So I want the monorail to be part of my list of things I can ride back and forth. That way I have an easy way to get to and from these parks and from these attractions.
Well, that's pretty good. Although we didn't say you couldn't be on transportation, so
True.
you might have shortchanged yourself a whole attraction.
That's true. I may have, but I love the monorail, so I'm going with the monorail.
Good deal.
Moving on to our number. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rachel.
No, go ahead.
Moving on to our number 4. Let's get to our 4th list. If these rides that we could only ride while we're at Walt Disney World on vacation, but we had to ride them numerous times over and over again, what would they be? Rachel, what would your number 4 be?
Okay. So my next one might be a little too similar to my first one, but I'm going to go with Spaceship Earth. Mm-hmm. It's similar because, it's just a dark ride through like people. But I thought of the variability thing, and I thought maybe I could make it an educational experience by learning many languages.
Oh, yeah.
And doing the voiceover.
Love it.
In lots of different languages.
Nice.
And again, it's like, it's a fun ride. And then you can also, vary your outcomes at the end.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Take different pictures.
See how many things I could come up with there.
That's
even though the
awesome.
seats are a little hard, so that's why it's not higher up on my list.
Well, you don't have to do it sequentially. You could, go back to it or something.
Yeah, I love Spaceship Earth so much.
Over and over.
Yeah, that one almost made my list.
Yeah, mine too. I love Spaceship Earth so much, and so I completely agree with you, Rachel. That's a great choice. I love it. Keenan, what's your number 4?
All right. Even though Tower of Terror didn't make the cut because I don't want to get sick riding a ride like that all day, I still need a thrill ride. I need a coaster. And so I'm heading over to Animal Kingdom for Expedition Everest.
Ooh.
I think it's the best coaster in Walt Disney World, and I could ride it over and over again. So there you go.
How does Rachel feel about that?
I will tell you in a couple of choices.
Actually, it was our last trip was the first time I've ever done Expedition Everest. I enjoyed it a lot. Michelle is not a coaster person per se. There's some of the simpler ones you're fine with.
Yeah.
Not the bigger ones. So we don't go on them when it was just the two of us or when we were with our son or whatever. We don't go on them a lot. But I was with some of my
coaster,
we have done them. You've done Space Mountain as well.
Yeah.
But I was with some of my family, and so I was able to finally do experience Expedition Everest and totally enjoyed it. It was a great attraction. I loved it, but I don't think I could ride it over and over and over again because I think I have a
But our family did.
Yeah, they did.
They did like 4 times.
I have a motion sickness thing going
yeah.
on that it starts to, after a while, it'll start to wear on me. So I have to, I don't mind riding it once, but I have to pare it down a little bit after that. So, but I still love that choice because it is a really great ride for sure.
Yeah. I would need brakes for sure, but I could easily ride that coaster for hours.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Michelle, what's your number 4?
So my number 4 is in the Disney Hollywood Studios is Toy Story Mania.
That's on my list.
I figured keep working on getting that high score of the day, and eventually, riding it over and over, I might make that. I might be able to beat you, honey.
Yeah, at some point you're bound to, right?
Hopefully.
I agree. There's enough variation in it, and it's very interactive, so you're having a good time with it. It's themed really well. It's a great ride, and it's on my list too.
Cool.
I'll mention it when I get to that number.
Yeah.
But
That's like a video game.
Yeah.
So
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
You could definitely play that for a couple hours.
Right.
Yeah, I
Good
almost put that one on my list as well, but the spinning back
spinning.
and forth kind of
Yeah.
gets me a little bit.
I can understand that.
Whips you around a bit.
Right.
And the screens, so you'll notice none of mine, I don't think any of mine have screens or any sort of simulators because those make me a little nauseous. So
Yeah.
I
I
understand
couldn't,
that.
I
on you.
wanted to do that one for the same reason. Like, oh, you have a goal, you're trying to get a high score,
Right.
but I don't think I could do it all day. I think I would barf at some point.
Totally get that. You barf and then you recover and you go back. Yeah. It's just like college, right? All right, my number 4. I said it was Star Tours. I won't redact it, but my one thing that I could have changed from that is that because on August 29th, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is opening up.
Right.
I probably would have switched at that point to Smuggler's Run. And same idea. It's another video game type thing that especially you don't know who your crew, if it's just the two of you, who your crew will be behind you and everything.
Right.
So that can change some outcomes. Everything you do changes the outcome slightly, and it really plus you're just flying the Millennium Falcon.
Right.
Or you can also take different roles. It's like, okay,
Right,
I've
yeah.
piloted a couple times. Now I'm going to be a gunner. Oh, okay, I've been a gunner. I'm going to be an engineer now. So you can change it up a little bit as you go along. But again, I'm not changing mine. My 4 is still Star Tours, but I think Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run would, if it was open officially yet, that probably would replace Star Tours on my list.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm really excited to ride that
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
someday.
we talked about it a little bit, and we're excited for everybody, all our friends that are getting to go there soon. I really wish you guys were getting out there sooner, but the nice thing is that you'll have everything opened up by the time you get out
Right.
there, including the Rise of the Resistance and everything, which is supposed to, we talked with an Imagineer when we did lunch with an Imagineer at the park, and he said it's going to blow your mind when that attraction opens up. And so it's great that you guys will get to experience that once you finally do get out there.
Right.
And who knows, maybe something will happen for you guys and you can get out there earlier. We're keeping our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
You never know.
Lottery.
I'm constantly thinking like, how can I just make enough extra dollars to afford Disney trips sooner than our next trip?
There's got to be some sort
Yeah.
of teaching convention or something out there
Right,
for
we're
you guys, right?
brainstorming.
Yes, there's something that's going to pop up for you. I have faith. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our number 4. Let's get to our number 3 attractions. If we could only ride these attractions the whole time we're at Walt Disney World. Rachel, what is your number 3?
Okay, I feel like this is the obvious one. For me, at least. I wonder if it's on everybody's list, but I chose the People Mover.
Yeah, that was my number 3 too.
because it's long. You
Right.
get a lovely view of Magic Kingdom. You could ride it during a fireworks show, perhaps,
Right.
and you get a little cooling off at some point.
Right.
I think it's
You could
just
ride
the
that all
obvious.
day.
Yes,
All day.
absolutely.
That could
Not
be
even in the Twilight Zone, in
Right.
the real zone.
if this was
So.
just one, that may have been my, like, if I could only do one,
Right.
Because the view is constantly I mean, yes, the actual fixtures around you, the buildings around you don't change, but the view is constantly changing because you're doing so much people watching while you're going through
Right.
it. It's always a little bit
Right.
different, and then as it turns to night, the shading, and then like you said, Rachel, the fireworks shows.
Yeah. And sometimes they have like dance shows out there and things with characters that you could catch from the bird's eye view.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great choice, Rachel. Definitely a perfect choice. Keenan, what's your number 3?
My number 3 headed over to Epcot now, is one of my favorite all-time rides, Soarin'. And Soarin' is actually the reason that when I said Animal Kingdom, I went with Expedition Everest and not Flight of Passage. I think they're both great, and Flight of Passage definitely is like way more intense and involved.
Yeah, I love
but there's just something about Soarin'. It's relaxing, it's thrilling. The sights, the smells. I just love that attraction, and I need an excuse to get over to Epcot. So
there you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference over the new Soaring or the Soaring over California?
We have never done over California.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I know.
But my favorite scene in Soarin' Around the World, spoiler if you haven't ridden this ride, is the final Epcot Spaceship Earth scene.
Yeah.
So good.
That is
So good. Yeah, I think the only reason it didn't make my list, because I thought about it for a little bit, but was because it's the same. It's pretty much the same thing over. But you can pick out a lot of detail, and I know we did Soarin' over California so many times. I was picking out individual hikers on the mountain and stuff. You know, to go over and stuff. But I really wish they would like switch it up every once in a while. Like, hey, and this time you're doing Soaring Around the World. This time you're doing Soaring over California. Right. I wish they would do it where they add all sorts of different things. You know, Soaring over Africa, Soaring over Australia, Soaring over Asia. You know, I wish they would
Soaring over Batu.
Yes,
that would be incredible.
Again, giving the Imagineers work that they don't need, but I think that'd be incredible.
Yeah.
But I do love that choice, and it almost made my list.
Cool.
Michelle, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is something brand spanking new that they just opened up over at Animal Kingdom, and that is Animation Experience. So they kind of brought back that Animation Academy, but over there. And I figured, going and doing that over and over, I could really hone in on some of my. Well, I don't have art skills, so I maybe not hone in, develop artistic skills, and maybe become a character animator.
Sure.
Doing it over and over and over. It's practice, right?
No, I actually love that choice.
That's a good plan.
Yeah, I like it.
I think so.
Plus, they have different characters throughout the day, so you're learning to draw different characters each time you're in there. It's, that's definitely entertaining, and that would be a blast. I agree. I like that.
You ladies are all about getting better at stuff. You got getting better at languages, or winning Midway Mania, or drawing.
Right. Totally.
It's a wise use of your Twilight Zone.
Is human.
Look, pretty. That's me. Oh, that's something shiny.
Well, what about you, sweetie?
I already said my number 3 is the TTA People Mover for the same reasons as Rachel. It's just relaxing, overlooking the park, great views, lots of people watching on the People Mover. It's just a really one of my favorite things. And like I said, if there was only one, it may have been the one. In fact, like you could only ride one thing over and over and over again, that probably would have been it.
Well, there is a resurgence of attention into that attraction. I mean, it used to be something that if you were just waiting for our next Fast Pass, you can just jump on that.
Right.
And now the waits for that are pretty significant. It's like people are loving it again.
I was shocked that there was like a 25-30 minute wait for it when we went in June. Yeah. It's like we're so used to just walking right on, and I'm like, there's a 25-minute wait for the People Mover?
Right, and
what is happening?
It continued because we did other things. We looked again. Oh, wait, still like
Yeah.
We didn't believe it at one point. We went over to check for ourselves, and sure enough, the line was crazy queue.
Right.
Did it actually take 25 minutes?
We didn't go. I'm so used to walking on. I don't know if I can wait 25-30 minutes for the People Mover.
We had family with us, and so wanted to use their time.
We were using the Touring Plans Lines app, which has supposedly more accurate wait times. I just did a YouTube video talking about this app and another one in particular, but it was crazy accurate, and for that one it also was a 20 or 25 minute wait for us, but the app was reporting a 10-minute wait, and so we decided to go for it, and the line moved very fast. We did not wait minutes for the People Mover.
I didn't think it was really going to be that, but it was just such a weird thing because they're so used to not just walking right on. I've never even seen a wait, much less anything that's resembling 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes, whatever it was. I'm so used to just walking right up that ramp and just hopping into a car and going.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
So and the other thing about, by the way, why this is one of my favorites is because we don't have it anymore out here in California, and I miss it so much out here at Disneyland.
Likewise.
And so that's the more reason why I try and take advantage of it when it's not a 20, 25 minute wait or whatever it was when we're at Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
So that's our number 3 picks. Let's get to our number 2 picks. Rachel, what is your number 2 attraction that you would ride over and over again?
Okay, this has already been said, and you might be surprised by this, but I actually picked Expedition Everest.
Oh, really?
Despite
Wait a minute.
all of the-
I listened to that trip report.
I give it a lot of flack, but I think it's because everyone's like, oh my God, it's so amazing and so thrilling. And I disagree. Like, I think it could be more thrilling for as much buildup as it gets and hype.
Right.
But that being said, I do enjoy the theming. I definitely, like Keenan said, I have to have a thrill ride. I have to have some kind of coaster on there. And while I do love Slinky Dog, so I was kind of between the two.
Right.
I did want to get over to Animal Kingdom, but it's just more of like a traditional coaster where they're cranking you up the hill and kind of got that jankiness to it that I appreciate in a coaster. And and then you're going backwards, the scenery changes and stuff like that.
That little moment of hesitation
reason,
where you're waiting to see what's going to happen next, and that's that you're like, the tension builds a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not my favorite coaster of all time, but I need a coaster to ride over and over again, and this is the clear winner in my opinion.
I am stunned.
Yeah, I know, right?
I've given Expedition Everest a lot of.
I can't believe it's over. She has it higher on her list than you do, Keenan. That's amazing. Listening to that trip report, I didn't think there was any way it was going to be on her list.
Right. I think it totally lives up to the hype. I should have had it higher.
I know I'm an inconsistent.
That's okay.
But that's what I'm going with.
That's okay.
All right,
We do these lists all the time, and if when we record them, I listen back to them a day or two later. I'm like, why did I have that there? I would never have that there, So, believe me, I'm totally flighty. I get it.
A week later, you're like, oh, I forgot about.
Right.
Yes.
This happens all the time. That's why eventually, when there's a little enough space in between them, we'll probably revisit some of these lists that we've already done because they change by the minute, actually, in our minds. So.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But this one's a good one, and it's like I don't know, it's a fun ride.
Yeah, it's a blast.
It's kind of you get get the breeze. It doesn't make me sick at all. So
that's good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it's a really great coaster. So, Rachel, do you think it's your favorite coaster at Disney, at Walt Disney World?
Not necessarily, but I think I enjoyed Slinky Dog more because it's smoother. But if I was going to ride one over and over again, it would be Expedition Everest. And I know I can't totally explain why. I think it's because it doesn't make me sick at all, and it's a little janky, and I like that.
Yeah, the thrill aspect of it is a little bit greater than, a lot greater actually than Slinky. I mean, I like Slinky too, but I think the thrill part of it for Expedition Everest, especially going backwards and everything, I think that just
and it's fun to see people's reactions too on that. And even if I'm not freaking out, a lot of people around me are, and that's kind of funny. So that's enjoyable.
Yeah, agreed. That's funny. Yeah, it is funny to see the pictures because you can tell the different people who are used to it, either being on it or are very comfortable with coasters, versus the people who are like, oh, hold on.
What's happening?
Always a blast. I like that choice. Keenan, what is your number 2?
My number 2 was jockeying for number 1, but I went with it at number 2 because I didn't want to steal Rachel's thunder. So my number 2 is the Haunted Mansion. It might just be my overall favorite ride at Walt Disney World. It's long, it's cool, it's dark, and I just feel like it's a ride that every time you ride it, you're going to see new things and just discover more. There's a lot to take in, and I would have no issue just doing this over and over and over.
Yeah, like the whole day.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, that almost made my list too. Because I'm like, surely you would see something different every time.
Right. Yeah.
It's on my list.
So long.
Yeah, I figured it would be on your list. Yeah.
We'll get to that in a moment because it's on
And-
my list as well.
And what's really, well, then I won't say anything more. Yeah, it's a good ride.
It's good.
What
Right,
a segue.
good.
What a segue. Sorry.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
in not wanting to steal Rachel's thunder, I might have stolen someone else's thunder. Is what you're telling me.
No, it's all good. I actually thought we were gonna, we were gonna brainbow there, and we were gonna be the same.
I know, right?
But we were pretty close. I can't argue with that pick. I love the Haunted Mansion so much. Both all the Haunted Mansions, whether we've been to, of course, we go to Disneyland. That Haunted Mansion is great. Walt Disney World is a little slightly different. The queuing is much better at the Walt Disney World at Magic Kingdom. We've even been to Phantom Manor at Disneyland Paris, and that is great too. We've enjoyed every version of it. They're all spectacular, and this is done 50 years ago. It's the 50th anniversary of it, and a lot of the effects still stand up today. They're that good. That's
totally
right. Yeah. And we get lucky out here because they have the holiday overlay, which runs the Nightmare Before Christmas. So it's really great for Halloween time theming as well as Christmas theming. So
cool.
It's an amazing change. It's a totally different scene that you go through. You'd love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, excellent choice. Definitely a great choice. Yeah. Michelle, what is your number 2?
Okay, so mine, again, for possibility of variation would be the Kilimanjaro Safari ride.
That almost made my list. That was almost going to be my number 5. But I chose transportation instead.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Just figured you get to see different animals each time, depending on different times of the day, which animals are out there. Your tour guides, bring a lot to it as well. So, have different flavors in that way. So just for the possibilities of having some variations.
Yeah, I agree. That's why it almost made my list. I love that.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's another
educational one.
Yeah, I know. I almost
You're
said
learning about all these
animals.
Yes. So
I'd memorize that little card in front of me.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally enjoyable. I love that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the, that and the celebration of the Lion King, are the two things when we go to Animal Kingdom that we never miss. We have to do both of those things there, and then we can kind of, go around and do a couple other things when we're there, depending on what we want. Of course, if we have a fast pass to Flight of Passage, we're going to do Flight of Passage.
Right. Absolutely. That's
definitely one of the ones we're going to experience for sure.
And your number 2?
My number 2, well, I can't have you beat me. So I am going to go on Toy Story Mania so I can get my score and make sure I'm higher than yours. Because we're competitive that way.
Right. I think the first 2 times we went on, were the only times I was able to get a higher score than you had. But after that, you just dominated.
You're always better in accuracy.
Yes,
because I just fire away at everything.
You just have,
You're such a guy.
Exactly. I think it's just a great attraction. I enjoy video games, so I enjoy that part of it. I think the theming from the queue, even though we're going through it pretty quickly because there's no one in front of us to get on. The queue is excellent. Just getting on it, and I understand Rachel because it can get to me a little bit when it does the quick jerky motions and everything. But then I get wrapped up in the video game, and all the motion sickness goes away because I'm so busy trying to pop balloons or hit rings, hit things with rings or whatever the case may be. So that's why that would be my number 2.
Very cool.
Because you're not going to beat me.
Excellent.
I know. There was only hope. Me and Princess Leia.
You'll give him a run for his money.
Yes.
She will. Definitely. So there's our number 2. Let's get to our number 1 attraction we would ride over and over again if we were in the Twilight Zone and that's all we could do. Rachel, what is your number 1?
My number 1 is Splash Mountain. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It is my favorite ride in the entire park. It has everything that you need in a ride, in my opinion. You got your dark water ride.
Right.
You have your thrills. It's long. You
There's a story.
There's a story. You got good music.
Audio animatronics. Yeah.
Yep. You get a little wet.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's got the
Cool
like
stuff.
log flume ride.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this was also your number 1, Keenan.
This was also my number 1.
It's
don't get me wrong. I was torn between this and Haunted Mansion. I think both are the pinnacle of Disney Imagineering, but I gave the slight nod to Splash Mountain for the reasons you were saying, Rachel. Just it has everything. It's a ride that has an aspect of every type of ride that exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just my favorite ride. And I love it because it's so long.
Yeah.
It
and
is.
you get a couple really good drops in it. And
Yeah.
It's great.
I could probably, I think I could, I wonder how long I could actually just like sit on that if I were to ride straight through before I was like, okay, I'm done.
2 hours.
Because I don't know. If I had food with me and like a bathroom, like I think I could be set.
You can hop off and get like a Mickey bar and get
Right
back in
there,
line. Oh no,
yeah.
you're not waiting in line. So
Yeah. But I think I
Get
could,
bored.
go for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just relaxing, and then
It's-
you get excited, and then you just settle back in. I don't know.
It's great. The only reason it didn't make on my list was because I feel like after a couple rounds of it, I'd be soaked head to toe, and I don't mind getting a little wet, but I'm like after a while, soaked head to toe is a little much for me. So I decided, no, okay. But every reason why you added it on the list was why it almost made mine is because yes, it's long, the story's great. They're singing, great animatronics in it, and there is a small bit of thrill to it, and I really enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, and it's got that old time song,
Right.
And the one at Walt Disney World is nicer because you can sit side by side, whereas the one in Disneyland, it's just individual.
Right.
So
Right in front of the other.
The one at Disney World is better for that. And the view, when you hit the top and your view is spectacular, which I love how it synchronizes with the song saying, I'll show you a happy place. And ta-da!
Of course, Michelle never has her eyes open at that point because
Yes, I
she's
did.
terrified of the drop
That's
at
the
that
only
moment.
time I have no, it's not the only time but I do because I remember somebody telling me once, make sure you open your eyes. So then
Just for that.
Yeah. So then from then on out, I opened my eyes.
So good.
Yeah.
That's a great choice and definitely.
Yeah. It's funny. If I was going to do a coaster over and over, I would do rock and roll.
Really?
Yeah. Except for if they could just cut out that countdown. That just...
It drives you crazy.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm going to have a heart attack and I'm just going to be floating around here on this ride dead.
Yeah. It's so much anticipation.
Right.
Wasn't that fun, honey? Honey?
It would make sense that you would like that, Michelle, liking tamer rides, because I think one issue that Rachel and I have with Rock and Roller Coaster is that it's billed as one of the most thrilling rides in Walt Disney World, and it's just, for me, it's honestly too slow. I know it sounds crazy to say it, but
I get that.
Loving roller coasters, it just does not go fast enough for me.
Totally
the music is really awesome, but it didn't make my list.
But it didn't make surprising that it didn't make your list.
Because I figured my odds would build against me if I went over.
You think I was
over.
a little slightly set aside when Rachel had Expedition Everest on her list? If Rock and Roller Coaster had made Michelle's list, I would have just had to walk away from the microphone because I don't know what I would have done. Yeah.
So are we doing if it were on my list now? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right.
Because I got a whole bunch of other ones.
Oh yeah, me too. Oh yeah,
Almost, but didn't.
Well, I also don't want people to think I am totally unable to do any roller coaster.
Oh no, you've done many.
I've done all but Everest.
You love the Matterhorn and you love Big Thunder.
Yeah.
Very much.
And Flight of Passage. I mean, I love all
that's not a roller
Everest.
coaster, but
well, I mean, thrill ride, I guess. But yeah.
So what's your number one?
My number
Michelle?
one was already mentioned, but I'm going to put it out here, is Star Tours. For a lot of the same reasons, you get different experiences. And then also with the help figuring going over and over that it could be the Rebel Spy.
Again, you've already been the Rebel Spy.
Yeah, that's the dream.
I know, right? I figured, if I do it over and over, maybe...
If I just kick the kids out so they don't get it all the time.
Just tell the cast member boarding that, just make me the Rebel Spy. And I'll walk
You'll never
away.
see me
I'll walk
again.
away.
Right.
But it's a great ride. It does have, like what was mentioned earlier, that it has different, worlds that you're visiting. So it has that variety factor.
Yeah, man, that's what I love about it. I get a little emotions issue with it, but
I do too.
Yeah, but it's not so much that would keep me from that was on my list from riding it over and over again.
Yeah.
So I just may have to take a breath in between before we go back on.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're number one.
My number one's the Haunted Mansion. I love the Haunted Mansion so much. Everything about it is wonderful. I love the theming from the beginning to the end. Even the cast members that are there, they take on their roles so well. I mean, even the stretching room is basically just an extension of the queue, but it's fantastic part of the show.
Yeah.
It's all magnificent. The effects are fantastic. We've been lucky enough to be on the tour where we got to see how they do it. And even seeing it, I'm like, it's amazing how this works, and it's insane. And, you can pick out so many different little things every time you're on it. And I could ride it over and over and over again. I love the Haunted Mansion so much.
And this is their 50-year anniversary.
Yes. Lots of celebrations going on for that, including Disneyland. They're doing a
the night
like 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. thing. Mm-hmm. And like, wow. Some sort of celebration from 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. I'm like, I don't mind the late night celebrations. I don't know if I could do that one.
Yeah. And they're not going to have all the rides open. So there's only going to be probably I think they said 4 rides, 4 attractions that are going to be open.
And it won't be the Haunted Mansion won't be open. That's rare. No, it'll be open, of course.
I was like, wait a second.
I know, right?
So those are our selections. If we could only ride, 5 attractions over and over again, walk right on. Because if we chose poorly, well, we'd have to ride something like, I don't know. I think Keenan would probably have to ride, Journey into Imagination or something. I heard a little something about that somewhere. A little bird told me something about that. But.
My most controversial tweet ever.
I know, right?
I saw it and I'm like, oh boy, his mentions are about to blow up. And I'm like, I think Keenan might be I think the vacation blues have already set in and he's already a little worn out. And, But I get it. I actually am not a fan of that version of that attraction. I love Figment to death, but that version of that attraction, I wish they would alter it slightly to make it more along the lines of what it originally was.
Go back to the original one.
Something new where, Figment isn't just a pest.
Right.
Yeah. There's so much they could do with it to make it really amazing.
Right.
Yeah. Agreed. I hope they just keep Figment because I do love Figment.
Yes.
I know. I like Figment himself.
Yeah. If anybody from Disney is listening, keep Figment.
Keep Figment.
Hashtag.
We like him.
Hashtag keep Figment. All right. So let's wrap up this segment.
All right.
A practical joke perpetrated by a mouse and a combination of improbable events. A practical joke wearing the trappings of joy, of elation, of celebration. Small human drama played out in an amusement park 16 miles from Orlando, Florida, USA, continent of North America, the Earth, and of course, the Twilight Zone.
Da-da-da.
So good.
Good job, baby. Good job.
Well, Michelle mostly wrote most of that stuff. I just, again, I'm just the dancing monkey. Here's the script. Would you just read this for me? Okay, yeah, you got it. That's what I'll do. So.
I could totally see Keenan doing something like that. So, if you guys weren't already similar.
I know, right?
When he was doing that whole Twilight thing, I was like, that's totally Keenan.
Excellent.
You guys are 2 peas in a pod.
Exactly.
All the more reason why we have to get a time when we're getting together out at the park, or going and seeing Hamilton. Apparently, we need to do that. One or the other, or both.
Yeah.
You'll appreciate time I was jamming out to the Dead while cleaning the house.
Nice.
Oh wow.
I was listening to this day in Grateful Dead history this morning. I was getting prepared, so it's all good. I understand. Anyway, please, you guys have such a great show. If you haven't listened to Part of Our World podcast, I know we have some mutual friends out there, and so they know both of us. But if you haven't listened to Part of Our World podcast, please check them out. They are a fantastic show. Keenan, Rachel, can you please tell our listeners how they can find you, and also better yet, how they can also follow you on social media?
Thanks. Yeah, I feel like if your listeners like your show, they'll probably like ours too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of similarities, and that's probably why we're such great friends.
I agree.
Yeah.
But our website is partofourworld.net, so you can go there and find basically everything that we do. You can also subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, pretty much anywhere you get podcasts. On Twitter, if you want to connect with me on social media, we're at POOW Podcast.
And on Instagram, it's Part of Our World Podcast.
Yeah, and we have a
That's mostly
Facebook
me.
group, Part of Our World Podcast.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, and they're a great follow. They have a lot of fun on social media. We enjoy interacting with them a lot of times, but their show is fantastic. Listen to it, subscribe to it. Please give them a review, because we all podcasters love reviews. It helps other fans find these podcasts. Plus, it helps us know what we can do better and that people are enjoying what we're doing. So please do that. And yes, it's such a great show. And we're really, really thrilled that you were willing to come on our show. We had an exciting time when we were on your show talking about Marvel. If you haven't heard that episode, you should search out Part of Our World Podcast and listen to that, because we had a lot of fun with that as well. I think you'd agree, Michelle.
Absolutely. Oh, no, I did it again. Darn it. Yes.
Put another $1 in the jar.
I know. No, I totally agree. It's always a real pleasure getting a chance to talk to you all, and we were so honored that you're willing to come on our show and have fun with us today.
Yeah.
Totally our pleasure.
Oh, thanks.
And we'll have to do this again sometime very soon.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
Oh, and by the way, I almost forgot. Keenan and Rachel are running with us in our virtual
That's
5K.
Right.
They surprised us running in the last month one. I didn't even know. I don't even think they got a medal for that one. So you should get them a medal for that one. But they are joining us for this month's one, and we're doing that 2 weeks from today. We're recording this on the 4th. We're doing that on the 18th is when we're all running. So if anybody out there is going to be running in the Black Panther part of it, please join us. Disney Discussions podcast, Disney DNA podcast, DVC Duo are joining us as well. Come on out, join us on that day, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys out there having a good time, or as good a time as you can have when you're going 3.1 miles.
You can listen.
Rachel, you're gonna run a 5K.
Apparently.
All right.
Rachel is not signed up for it, just me. But now
I feel like I have
she's
to.
committed. So
You shouldn't have said anything, because I would have believed the whole time that Rachel was right there with you.
Yes.
So I'll just edit that part out. No one will ever know.
You can listen to
We'll have to
Hamilton.
just do it.
If you listen to Hamilton
know,
while
it'll
you
go, like,
run and you
so fast.
and you envision the actual watching the play, being there, you forget that you're actually.
No, you don't.
You
But it
somewhat
helps.
forget. You somewhat forget about your running.
That's a good tip.
yeah, you need like my shot to kick in right when you're feeling fatigued. And gotta keep going.
Yes.
See, like I have it set up on
Ballad
my
Yorktown.
Right.
Right, that's
It's the
it.
best,
I was just about to
best
say,
song.
I have it set up whenever I'm running for those last leg towards the end of, like, I'm doing an actual Run Disney race or whatever, that I'm getting right about the finish line when Hercules Mulligan shows up in Yorktown, because
Yes.
it just goes right at that point, and that pushes
No.
me. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
Swear to God, I'm not trying to do that.
another $1. Thank you.
Edit that out so it doesn't sound so ridiculously many times.
No, absolutely keep it.
I know. I don't know why. Maybe I do it on every episode and I just never noticed
You
before.
don't, but, we all have our crutches.
But
I have
this
plenty of them.
episode,
Yeah.
I was like,
We all have them. It
Yes.
happens.
Oh yeah, when I listen back through, I'm like, I said
Yeah.
like or so,
Yeah.
or
Right.
Oh,
fantastic
so
a
many
million
things.
times.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, mine is,
I know
I say out there a lot for whatever reason. And I'm like, it crushes me every time I say it. And I'm like,
Is that because that's your brain? It's
yes,
out
it's
there.
way out there all the time. Out there. Sorry.
Oh, no. Okay, time to wrap this up.
If Keenan could sing during his
We
episode,
need-
so could I.
Yeah.
Speaking of out there, we need Ben Platt to sing Out There.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know. That's all I want.
Yes.
So I'm making it known on all
I love
platforms,
that.
including
Yeah.
their podcast.
I
All
love
right.
that. Oh, that is perfect choice.
I'm
That is
trying.
a perfect selection.
Yeah.
I love that so much. By the way, Dear Evan Hansen is coming out here. I mean, it's the touring company. It's not the same, but Dear Evan Hansen's coming out
Right.
here.
Right.
Next year, we have tickets for that, so we're excited.
Nice.
for
Oh,
that.
nice.
So-
Yeah, it's coming
It's
here
coming
soon,
here,
but I
but-
don't think we can go.
No, we're trying to be budget savvy, save up for that next Disney.
Yes,
movie.
Yeah.
so
I
you
know,
get to
you
Disney
That's
sooner.
right.
Pick and choose.
That's right. Every
Yeah.
time you're thinking about going out to that restaurant, just like, we can cook a little something at home and put that in the Disney fund, and it's-
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah.
That's how we roll.
God.
I was just going to ask if you mentioned it.
One more thing. I will be, thanks to Keenan's request, this week we will be on Disney Dishes blog. We will be debuting the avocado margarita.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is coming sometime this week. Wait for it. I just need to adjust a little bit of the.
Wait for it.
I know, right?
Yes. I just need to adjust a little bit on it, but it's almost ready to go. Take a couple more pictures, and it will be this week, so you can make that at home.
Awesome.
man.
We already have avocados, so like.
Nice,
Yeah.
you're prepared.
This is my final week of freedom before the school year starts.
Oh,
That'll be it.
That will be the celebration.
yes.
Very nice. Awesome.
Nice.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, Keenan and Rachel, thank you again so much for being on our show.
Thank
We
you.
really appreciate it. We always have a great time whenever, well, obviously when we're together like this, but also just on social media day in and day out. We really enjoy you guys so much.
Yeah, and we really appreciate you took time on your weekend on a Sunday, no less, to to take time from your schedule to talk to us. It's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. This is great. We love
Yeah,
it.
we love talking to you
Oh,
guys.
Yeah.
thanks. Likewise. We're big fans.
Yeah, too. So, Keenan and Rachel, part of our World podcast. Please subscribe to them, listen to them, give them a review. They're great. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I hope you liked our little Twilight Zone theme there, in honor of course, 25 years of the Hollywood Tower of Terror, the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, or whatever you want to call it. We just had a lot of fun with Keenan and Rachel.
Yeah, and you did a great job putting that intro piece together and the end piece. I think that was spectacular.
Well, I put it together, but you wrote almost all of it. You did the research. You did the real legwork on it. I just, put the script in front of me and read it, Dance, monkey, dance.
Not even. But that's funny. I may want to try that sometime.
Anyway, we had a lot of fun. Please follow Keenan and Rachel, part of our World podcast. Find them on social media and follow them. Definitely listen to their podcast. Follow them, subscribe to them, give them a review. They are a great couple, and we're looking forward to doing much more fun things with them in the future.
He almost said absolutely after all this time.
Absolutely.
No, they are wonderful. And again, we really appreciate that they joined us today. That was special.
That was special. So let's move on. Before we get to our Disney Stories of the Week, we want to talk a little bit about what we did last night. You may have seen some pictures out on social media if you follow us, but we had a great time last night. We've been looking forward to this for a while. The San Diego Symphony goes out to the San Diego Bay, and during the summer, they set up a stage and chairs and tables and all sorts of stuff right there on the bay, and it's really a wonderful thing. We've been out there for a couple other events. We've been out there for a couple concerts, but last night we were lucky enough to go check out one of our favorite things, including one of our favorite movies. As a matter of fact, it's my favorite Star Wars movie, Empire Strikes Back, live in concert with the San Diego Symphony.
Oh, it was spectacular. And we have to admit, we did get choked up there.
I never get choked up. You know me, I'm an emotional rock.
But even at the intro, when they, brought on, Fox Entertainment or whatever, they
20th Century
Fox, and they did the drum thing, and it was just like, oh my gosh, with a live orchestra there, it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And thanks to Trent and Jenny for talking with us a little bit about that. They actually saw that in concert
from
too.
Disney DNA podcast.
Yes.
They were joined us a couple of weeks ago. We've joined them a few weeks before that, and we're looking forward to having them on again at some other point. But they're great as well. But if you don't know what this is, they screen the movie and they take out the actual music, the score of it. And instead that they have the live symphony orchestra playing all the music, and it is amazing to watch this, and it just gives you much more appreciate. Not that you didn't appreciate John Williams' score that much more, but when you see it played out right in front of you, and just the little nuances, and it's just spectacular to see.
Absolutely. We need like a jar that I put
buzzer.
or a buzzer, or I was gonna say like a $1 jar that I have to put $1 in every time I say absolutely.
That's all.
I was just explaining. I concur. But yeah, it was interesting because having obviously seen the movie a million times, sometimes I was able to really just appreciate watching the orchestra play, and even just their body movements and how they got into it. It made it so much more enjoyable. And in fact, after a while, watching their faces, and they were just, you could tell they were having a great time too.
Yeah, it was interesting to watch because some of them would be so focused in what the next piece of music they had to play or what their next part is or whatever, that they were just looking at their music. They were just looking, and there was other, like the first seat violin, who is, if you know anything about symphony orchestras, is like, outside of the conductor,
right,
is the main person in these orchestra. That is like the number one person or there, and he was just focused on when he wasn't playing. Even sometimes when he was playing, because
right,
he could just tell he knew his part so well, he was focused on watching the
yes,
film. He was enjoying every bit of it. Whether, I don't know if I would assume he's seen it before, but either way, he was really enthralled with being there
right,
and getting to watch Empire Strikes Back.
Yes, and the conductor was phenomenal. A lot of props to him. He did a great job. He had a lot of personality too, and that came through. And so it was really, really fun. Anybody who hasn't had that opportunity, if it does come around, take that time and just go really appreciate that movie in a whole new way.
Right. And it was funny. It's the first time I've ever watched a Star Wars film where there was an intermission. I mean, I've taken, of course, at home,
right,
when I put the Blu-ray on pause or whatever, I go run and grab a snack or use the facilities or
right,
whatever, but an intermission. And, the fun thing about it is they played the most, I guess the Star Wars theme itself is probably the most iconic part,
right,
but the second most iconic, and some would argue it is the most iconic piece of music. Going in and out of intermission, they played, of course, the Imperial March,
right,
going in and out, which was great. But it was just great. And one thing about this, and if you live in the San Diego, because I know some of you who listen to us, of course, live nearby us, or maybe many more that live in the Southern California area and ever want to check this out. Really is a great location. You can go out there and you can bring your own food in. You can bring your own beverages, no alcoholic beverages, but you can bring your own beverages in, and then you can pick up adult beverages there, and you can kind of have a picnic and enjoy the whole thing. There are people that you can get seats, but you can also lay out. They have general admission seats where you can put out a blanket, you can bring chairs along and set up, and it really is a great time just to enjoy the evening out. We had just beautiful weather last night. It couldn't have been more perfect. I mean, people are talking about how they're jealous of San Diego weather, and last night, that was a reason why you would be.
Yes.
Sorry, everybody else in the country. It was a wonderful night out on the bay last night. Another thing we did this ourselves, is that because we were in a certain section, because we splurged a little bit on this because we really want great seats, but you could have food delivered right to your table. Richard Blaze, who you may know if you watch any of the cooking shows, he was on Top Chef, and now he's on Food Network a lot, kind of a celebrity chef. And he has a few restaurants around the country, including one right here in San Diego. He designed some menus specifically for this, and so we were excited, so we ordered off of that, and we really got some really nice dishes. We took some pictures of them. You can probably find them on social media under our Disney Dishes blog website, or also we have it on pretty much everything on Instagram. I put some of those pictures out of the food. I got a flat iron steak with barbecue sauce and cream corn. That was really good. You got a beautiful salmon dish. That was spectacular. Are you a little worried sometimes when you get salmon when it's served to you in mass on site? That it's going to be overcooked or whatever.
But
the same with fish. It was
perfect.
It was perfect. I was thinking actually it would probably be okay for you because you're like your fish a little bit more cooked than I do, but it was perfect for me. I would have loved that salmon dish. So that was great. The food was great. We got a bottle of wine. We watched the show.
Under the stars.
It was right by the San Diego seafront there. It was just on the bay. It just couldn't have been a better night. And if you ever had the chance to go check this out, they do these things. They do regular classical concerts. They do some of these musical scores. They have actual other bands, like we've seen Paul Simon and Steve Miller Band come out and do stuff there. Go check it out. Take advantage of it. And if this any of these Star Wars in concerts. I know they've done A New Hope before. I'm hoping that they're going to do Return of the Jedi maybe next year, whatever. Mm-hmm. But if they ever come to your city and the symphony's playing, or even if they're just doing like the music of John Williams, go check it out because it is just so good.
It is. And if you do come out to Comic-Con, it's something to also take a look at because they usually do have something on the same weekend as Comic-Con that you could put that in for your evening entertainment as well. I think this year they did Galaxy's Edge.
I'm going to talk about Galaxy's Edge.
I know. I
so
had
maybe
that
that's
on
why it was on your mind. Yes.
Yes, Galaxy Quest, the movie, and had the score with the symphony there.
And they also did Back to the Future, right during Comic-Con. So those were a couple fun things. A couple years ago they were doing during Comic-Con, but actually in Symphony Hall, they did the music of John Williams, which we went and attended, and that was a lot of fun too. So definitely check it out. We had a great time. And if you want to check out any of our pictures, I did snap. You couldn't record. You weren't supposed to record anything video wise or whatever while this is going on, but I did snap a few pictures of the stage setup and a couple screenshots of the movie behind the orchestra. Check out our social media and see that. But we had a great time. So,
did you post the paw?
I did. I did. The big meaty paw coming across
to swipe against
Luke's
face. Yes.
That was classic and funny, and that was actually it was actually not my intention of that picture, but it's like that's the way it worked out. That there's this big wampa paw coming across the screen there, so I had to post it because it was just funny timing. Anyway, but I digress. So let's move on to our Disney stories of the week. Every week there's so many Disney stories. We need to get to a few of them, and actually we have even a story that's not technically Disney, although it kind of relates to Disney in some way. But I'm going to start with Disney, and we're going to start at the Walt Disney World Resort and stay in Star Wars, stay in a galaxy far, far away, because there are new ways coming to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Walt Disney World if you like an adult beverage.
How exciting.
It is exciting. I'm jealous a little bit because it's a little tougher to get these adult beverages in Disneyland. But I guess considering at Disneyland Park, they haven't ever served adult beverages before, I guess we should just be happy with what we get for right now anyway. But this is going to be fun from the Walt Disney World Resort. And this is straight from the Disney Parks blog. And it was an article that mostly talked about the food items, which are pretty similar, if not completely similar, to what you get at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at the Disneyland Resort. However, it got interesting as you read more into it and so Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, I know some are getting to go to some of the previews now. The annual pass holder previews are coming up, and I'm sure these will be available for that as well. But the land itself opens to the public on August 29th. But it was interesting to see because they have so many more interesting adult beverages that I'm looking forward to trying while we're there. So I'm going to go down the list, and we'll start with Docking Bay 7 Food and Cargo, which we both
we love that place.
We both enjoy their food there. They have for their specialty beverages with alcohol, and this was in that Disney Parks blog story if you want to check it out. You kind of got to read through it a little bit, and it kind of right at the end they aim a non-alcoholic specialty beverage, but I don't care about that. I want the adult beverage, which is interesting. Here's what they have there. They say for a specialty beverage with alcohol, which is exclusive to the Walt Disney World Resort, try the Taco Donna Quencher with Dragonberry rum, blue curacao, simply orange with pineapple and kiwi. Yum. Yeah, that is a drink I want to try. That sounds delicious. They also even have we've tried the blue milk. We didn't try the green milk, but we tried the blue milk. I liked it okay. You weren't as crazy about it.
All right.
However, we may try them again when we get to Galaxy's Edge at the Walt Disney World Resort because they have blue and green milk with alcohol included. Yes. So the blue milk cooler comes with rum and the green milk cooler comes with tequila. So I think you will be trying the blue milk because you have an adversity to tequila ever since college.
Too many shots.
Yeah,
Too many shots.
We won't get into that story right now, but interesting stuff. But that's exciting too. And I'm sure that'll make an interesting addition to the flavor profile of both of those when we get to try it. Finally, also at Ronto's Roasters, you can enjoy the Walt Disney World Resort's exclusive specialty beverage with alcohol, their Trandoshan Ale, which is a spiced wheat ale. I believe you can also get that in Oga's Cantina. I think that's there as well. Or the Coruscant Cooler featuring featuring Kentucky bourbon, cherry liqueur, fortified wine, cranberry, and lime juice.
Whoa.
Yes. Very nice.
Yeah, probably don't want too many of those.
No. But
You'll definitely feel like you're in a galaxy far, far away.
but I'm looking forward to trying them. I like that a lot of these are very, knowing how Florida can be so warm and so humid, and just that a lot of these are very refreshing kind of drinks that will kind of cut into that. I think you don't want a big heavy drink when you're there. So
and very themed and fun sounding.
Which is all. I mean, that's the thing about all these drinks is they're very themed to the land. And I think when you all get to go enjoy Star Wars, like we've been blessed, of course, on the West Coast that we've gotten to already experience it. When you get to experience Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, you're just going to fall in love with the place and the theming of it, the cast members, which aren't really the Batuans, because that's who they are. They're not cast members. They really are, citizens of Black Spire Outpost.
Right.
Yeah, you're really going to have a wonderful time, and I'm excited for all of you to get to experience it very soon.
Right. It is the most immersive experience. Yeah.
For sure. Let's move on, and we're going to stay in Orlando, but we're actually going to go kind of across town a little bit and talk about, yes, I know, sorry, Universal a little bit here, because they had a sort of big announcement this week. They plan to turn the heat up on Disney a little bit with an epic new announcement on Thursday. This
Finger quotes.
Yes. This straight from the Washington Post. Comcast Corp owned Universal Parks and Resorts on Thursday fired the latest salvo in a decades-long battle to give entertainment giant Disney a run for its money, announcing a major expansion in Orlando that includes hotels, restaurants, shops, and a new theme park called Universal's Epic Universe.
Pretty cool.
Pretty interesting. It was an interesting announcement. They were teasing it for a couple days that something was coming, and I think they wanted to get ahead of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, opening it up at the Walt Disney World Resort, and of course D23, which is coming up. Gosh, before we know it, I'm just so excited. Anyway, so here's the quote from that press conference. Quote, "Our new park represents the single largest investment Comcast NBC Universal has made in its theme park business and in Florida overall." That was from Comcast Chief Executive Brian Roberts. Actually, it was in a statement. He said it reflects the tremendous excitement we have for the future of our theme park business and for our entire company's future in Florida, end quote. The news comes just as Disney is about to open Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in Orlando. The addition of Epic Universe will bring Universal Orlando Resorts total to 3 major theme parks and 1 water park. It already includes Universal Studios Florida, Islands of Adventure, and Volcano Bay. The new park will be located on a larger 750-acre plot a few miles from the existing resort, according to the news release. Universal will provide transportation to link all the properties. There were very few details that were given about this area, but industry watchers believe that there's going to be like a Nintendo themed area, rides inspired by DreamWorks films such as How to Train Your Dragon, and it looks like there was, if you look really closely at the representation they put out there, the artwork they put out, looks like there's another new Harry Potter theme land or Fantastic Beast themed land, but kind of in that Wizarding World themed area. So they also there were really no details about it. It was really kind of a weird announcement. But the thought is that it'll probably open somewhere around 2023 or 2024.
Sure.
So.
Well, I think the more things that they can put out there, like you said, they're, kind of upping the game a bit, and that's going to help make Disney World better too.
Right.
So I think it's really exciting.
Look, we are Walt Disney World. We are Disney fans.
Definitely.
That is where we're going to stay most of the time. That is our big thing. However, we've been to Universal here on the West Coast. We've enjoyed our time there. I'm all for I don't know if it's so friendly, but I'm not all for competition because it makes everybody better.
Right.
I'm also all for more options. I'm all for more theme parks. I'm all for better attractions. I am all for this. So hopefully this is good for Universal. I want to see this battle going on where they're each upping their game as we move along. I think that only for the consumer, for the fans, it only makes things better for everybody involved.
Right. And different people like different things, and that's awesome. So this is really fun news for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, even though there weren't a lot of details on this, I'm excited to hear what's going on. You know, we haven't been to Universal when we've been to Florida because we just focus on Disney. Well, like I said, we are Disney fans. When we go to Walt Disney World, we tend to stay at Walt Disney World, but we have been to Universal in Southern California, Universal Hollywood, and seen the Wizarding World of Harry Potter there, and it's amazing. We love it. I know it's supposed to be even better at Universal Orlando, so I'm all for it, and I'm excited to see what happens with this. So interesting. It'll be fun to see what the details are as they gradually come out in the future.
Right. And they also have a rich history of a lot of different films, etc. So, it's going to be I think a really good thing that they're going to be providing people who love all kinds of different entertainments.
No question about that. So that's cool. And I have one more story for you. It's just a really quick story, and it has to do with the Disneyland Resort. And that is, if you are looking to go to brunch at the Lamplight Lounge at Disney California Adventure Park, before recently it was only available on the weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays. Well, this week they just opened up reservations for Friday as well. So another day where you might be able to, we've done brunch at the Lamplight Lounge. We enjoyed it very much. It just opens up one more day for you to take advantage of that. So go on the website, go on the app. If you're looking to do it, I highly recommend getting a reservation and go check it out.
Definitely. And if you're not as familiar here in Southern California, the reservation window is 60 days.
Right. And Lamplight Lounge does get busy. It will book up. You may get lucky if you try a couple days out, but I would suggest when your 60-day window's open, if you know you're going, book it as soon as possible. And if something changes, you can always cancel at least 24 hours ahead of time without any charge on your credit card or whatever the case may be.
Right. And they do take some walk-ins.
Yes. Yeah. Just because you didn't got a reservation doesn't mean you won't be able to get in. If you want to do this, it's just easier to, plan out your day when you know when you'll be going in there. And if you know it's something you want to do, why not take advantage of that and book it ahead of time?
Yes. And weekends do get pretty busy in comparison to weekdays. And especially now that there are some block times for the Disneyland Resort because of Galaxy's Edge, then more people tend to go over to California Adventure at that point.
Exactly.
Who have annual passes.
Absolutely.
I feel mocked. Mocked.
You? No. Wait, are we the podcast that makes you feel like a jerk?
Maybe.
Oh, boy. Got to work on that.
Yeah. No, you're wonderful.
I guess I'm just the podcast host that makes you feel like a jerk.
No, you're just being funny.
Anyway, so that's our Disney stories of the week. If there's any, if you want to talk about any of these, please feel free to hit us up on social media or through email. We'll share that again at the end of the show. But we never wrap up any show without giving you our vacation tips, some sort of tip that might help you whether you're out at the parks, whether you're on vacation at the resorts, whether you're doing Run Disney, Disney Cruise, whatever the case may be. We always like to wrap up the show with some sort of tip. And we always start with Michelle. One, because she's absolutely wonderful, but also because she always has the best, most spectacular tips you're ever going to find anywhere.
I'm telling you, you're so funny.
Let's not hesitate for one more second. Let's get to Michelle's tip of the week.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, sweetie. So my tip has to do with transportation to and from the airport. And I know a lot of people know about Disney World's Magical Express and how that it's a free service and how that's provided. Here on the West Coast, we don't have Disney's Magical Express. However, there is a company, Coach USA, who has a tie-in with Disneyland to have Disneyland Express. And so they do have shuttle service to and from the LAX airport as well as the John Wayne Airport. And it's not free, but the prices are pretty reasonable, especially if you're, whether you thinking of either Uber or taxis or even car rental in this area can get quite pricey. So
especially when if most of the resorts and hotels around the Disneyland area charge for parking. So when you're thinking about renting a car, add that into your total amount.
Right. So if you're coming into John Wayne Airport, that has either a round trip for adults at $35 or children at $11. And one way is adult 20 and children 7. And then LAX has adults at $48 and children 14, and one way $30, children at 9. You don't need reservations, but you can make reservations and prepay online. It's interesting. So it's one of these services that they go from the airport to several hotels. And then also pick up from hotels and go to the airport. It's about a 1 hour drive with the John Wayne Airport.
John Wayne's a little closer. It's not that bad. I don't think it's actually 1 hour. It all depends in LA, Orange County on traffic.
Their stops.
Oh, yeah.
What they're saying is about an hour from the airport to your hotel and vice versa. And they do multiple transportations throughout the day. And so you can go online to coachusa.com and get that information. But it seems like a really good opportunity if you want to come out to Disneyland and don't feel like you need a car and want to use that. Interestingly, their airport to hotels, they go to less hotels, but they kind of have some central drop-off locations in the, and this is all in the Anaheim hotels near Disneyland, so they don't go all over Anaheim, but they have more actual hotel pickups to take you to the airport. So
interesting.
Yeah, so it's a another Disney Express. They call it Disney Express. Again, it's not free, but it's a pretty reasonable cost.
Right.
And, can give you that same service that you would want to get like you would see at Disney World.
Highly recommended if you're coming from LAX, because LAX is a long way away. And unless you're renting a car, you figure that out. Like, I would only suggest renting a car if you were planning on checking out some other things in Southern California. If you want to go to Hollywood, if you want to go to Universal, some of the other theme parks that are nearby, or any of the other sites around Southern California, then you can rent a car. But otherwise, if you're flying into LAX, definitely do this. You don't want to fight. You don't want to fly in and fight LA/Orange County traffic if you can avoid it. So do that. It's a little bit different when you're flying into Santa Ana, Orange County Airport, John Wayne Airport, as you said. It's a little closer, so it's a little more up in the air, and whether you want to do an Uber or a Lyft, or some sort of ride share versus doing this. But either way, check out your options.
Yeah.
And if you ever have any questions to us about that, feel free to hit us up, and we'd be happy to answer any of them at any time.
Sure. And like I said, I think it's certainly a convenience, and I think the one difference that makes it nice too is you don't have to be staying on property at Disneyland. You can be going to one of the other resorts nearby.
There's only 3 hotels in the Disneyland Resort, so most people who come do not stay on property. That's just the facts of it. There are plenty of great hotels, great good neighbor hotels that are nearby, but so it's good that they have transportation to those spots, not just to the Disney Resort hotels.
Yeah, so just another option to consider.
Absolutely, and that's a good option. And again, Michelle, yes, I did use it. Michelle has the absolute best tips.
Oh, you're too kind.
Yes,
too kind.
Obviously. Now let's get to my little secondary tip. And I'm going to go back to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and again go back to adult beverages because I just tend to do that. Actually, it's
cocktails on the mind right now.
Yes, I guess it must be cocktail hour. This will go for not just adult beverages. It will go for non-alcoholic beverages as well if you're going to Oga's Cantina. And here's the one thing about it. When you get into Oga's Cantina, one, it's difficult enough to get in there, but when you're in there, you're limited to about 40 minutes of time in there, and you're limited to 2 drinks. Right. You can only purchase 2 drinks. Now, when you get into Oga's Cantina, which we have a couple times, you're going to notice that it's pretty crowded, okay? It's a nice space,
But they do shoehorn the people in around the bar and at the tables and everything. I mean, they want to try and get as many people in as they can. So, because it's so big, because there's so many people that want to get in there, they do want to try and make that available for as many people as possible. Well, here's what I would suggest, because I guess it depends on if you want to take advantage of that 2-drink maximum. It can be difficult to flag down your server or your bartender as you progress through. The first order, not so bad, but to try and get a second one, a little more difficult. I would suggest when you make your first order, just order, if you're planning on having 2 drinks anyway, make your order right from the beginning. If you're going to have some of the Batu bites, the snacks, make sure you order that there, because it becomes a little more difficult to flag them down. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it becomes a little more difficult. If you're planning on doing this anyway, go ahead and take advantage of it right at the beginning, or at least let your server know, I'm going to have another one, or I'm thinking about having another one. So it's in the back of their mind that you might be having because the 40 minutes while you're in there will fly by pretty quickly. And if you can't flag down your server or whatever, it gets a little difficult. So my suggestion is just, at least let your server know that this is your plan. If you don't order right away, just make them aware that this is a possibility.
Or maybe even as they bring you your first drink, order your second drink. That's a great, that is a great tip, because we did see that we had a struggle the second time we went in there, and we're like, oh, are we going to be able to even get it? And we were right at the bar.
Right. And it's just a lot of people, and they're doing a lot of things, and there's I won't spoil it for you, but there's other interactive stuff that happens within the Oga's Cantina itself that some of the staff there take part in. So they're busy doing that as well. So just let you know. And there's always new people coming in, going. So it can be a little tricky. Just be ahead of it if you're thinking about doing that.
No, it's a great tip. And I think we've mentioned this in the past too, but just to reinforce it is, just be friendly, get to know the person next to you, or at least say hi. And it makes it a much better experience, because you are pretty much shoulder to shoulder anyway. So just kind of expect that and think, hey, everybody's there is very happy to be there.
Having a good time.
They are thrilled and appreciative of what they're able to experience. So enjoy the friendship and the fun with them.
Absolutely. No, definitely have a great time, and I'm excited to hear about all your first trips to a galaxy far, far away. When I'm looking forward, I know that there's several people out there that are going very soon. I know the Monorail family from Monday Morning Monorail podcast. They have some of the annual pass holders. Previews. They're going soon. I know Frank Cardillo from Delos Diz. I know he's coming down with, I think, Landon Doze, who also does the Monday Morning Monorail with Justin. They're all going, and they're going together, and so I'm excited to see their pictures and see their man tears shed just like mine shed on the first time we went. But all of you out there, that when you get to go, I'm so excited to see you experience this land, whether it be here on the Disneyland Resort or whether it be just opening up at the Walt Disney World Resort. I really believe you're going to love it, and I'm excited to see and witness all your experiences checking it out for the first time.
Yes. And I've noticed some things on social media about the color schemes of both parks being slightly different. And I just want to reassure anybody who's planning to come to Disneyland Galaxy's Edge, you will not be disappointed at all in how fabulous that land looks here in Southern California. The color scheme is perfect.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can judge. I mean, trip into each land, different environmental situations, different times of day could change how the shading looks. Everything they could be almost exactly on the same. But it just depends on, you could go into Disneyland and you could look at the castle at Disneyland, or you could look at the castle at Walt Disney World at Magic Kingdom. And it could look different on you on 2 days in a row because of clouds or
that's true.
light or whatever the case may be. It may look slightly different, and that could be I haven't experienced Galaxy's Edge at Walt Disney World yet, so I can't really compare. But I wouldn't just say, oh, yeah, definitely they are strikingly different until you actually have been to both of them and seen them under similar circumstances.
Right.
So anyway, I'm excited. I'm excited for everybody to get to go, and I'm excited for our chance to get to go there when we get there in December. And of course, our return visits to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge here at Disneyland coming up soon. Coming up soon. So that's it for this week. Next week, well, we'll be less than 2 weeks from D23 Expo 2019.
Wow.
Yes, crazy, right? So we're going to be doing one final pre-event discussion, including last-minute tips. We may go through some of our predictions of some of the announcements we might hear when we're there, what we're looking forward to. And, you know, we'll probably reach out to you and see. I've already reached out with some polls this week. Matter of fact, sometimes there was just too many polls. I slowed them down a little bit because, sorry, I was overdoing it. Just so excited for D23 Expo. I can't wait for it to come. So we'd love to hear what you think of as far as, please vote on our polls. You can find those on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast. But also, I'll probably be reaching out for, you know, what you're most looking forward to as well right before this next episode.
Right. And if you are planning to go to D23, please reach out to us. We'd love to meet up with you, say hi, or if any of you do go there and see us, please say hi.
Yeah, and find us. We have some giveaways. We just received our brand new giveaways that we'll be handing out. Something simple, just a little trinket that we're going to hand to anybody that comes up and says hi to us, you know, says they listen to the show or they follow us on social media or whatever the case may be. Please, we are looking forward to meeting so many of you out there and experiencing this wonderful Ultimate Disney fan event. So yes, please stop by. And you can't miss Michelle. She's the cute little redhead that's 5 feet tall bopping around out there. You can't miss her.
You're so funny. You're
Absolutely.
So cute. Okay, we need to have like a challenge in one of our future, but I need practice, a future episode where we don't say absolutely.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I know.
Good luck with that.
It won't be next one because I don't think I could cut. I don't think I can go cold turkey.
Nope, because it'll be an absolutely wonderful episode. And thank you absolutely for joining us today. Please, in the future, follow us on social media, on Twitter, at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. And if you ever want to contact us for any reason, you can absolutely reach us at Hyperion Adventures Podcast at gmail.com.
You're absolutely wonderful, honey.
Yeah, I think there's another term that you really want to use that I'm absolutely right now.
Not at all.
We appreciate you joining us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. Best place to find us, the absolute best place to find us is HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com. Please sign up for our newsletter there. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartMedia. If there's any place that you haven't found us, that you normally listen to podcasts, please let us know. We want to try and get on there as well. And just tell a friend about us. That's the easiest way to get us known throughout the Disney community. But if you have the time, a rating, on even more time, a review would help us so much. One, just to learn what you think about the show and how we can improve. But it also helps so many other Disney fans and our podcast fans like yourself find our show.
Yes. And again, we love to hear from you and get your ideas and feedback on the show. And we want to make this the best podcast ever. The absolutely best podcast ever. All right, it's time to wrap it up. We're getting silly now. Yes, where's the hook? Thank you for listening to the Hyperion Adventures podcast. We look forward to sharing some time with you again next week. But until that time, I'm Tom. I'm Michelle. And we hope that you have an absolutely magical week.